Definitely, definitely. No.
Are your microphones on? Should you turn the mics on? Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Are your microphones on? Should you turn the mics on? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, welcome everyone. Hello, hello, hello. This is series number 2 for this candidate forum. We have the 5 best organizations in the world coming together. You see, we have come to understand that we are not competing against each other. Well, welcome everyone. Compliment each other. Hello, hello, hello. Coalition of 100 Black women, the Greater Huntsville area chapter. There were 100 Black men of Greater Huntsville. And we have the League of Women Voters of Tennessee Valley.
Yes, ma'am.
Tennessee Valley and the Delta Sigma Theta alumni. Anyway, I want to make sure it's said right, so I got to get one of the experts to see it right.
The Huntsville Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated.
That's right there. That's right there. And also we have the NAACP of Huntsville, Madison County. You see all our logos on this meet your candidate sheet. This is for you. You can evaluate the candidate, score them any kind of way you want to score them. You can do your shorthand, and I don't care. But this is for you. So when you get home, you say, well, why did I give them such a high score? You can look on there and see why you scored them so high. any refresh your memory. But at this time, I would like to also recognize the president of the organization.
Yeah, you too. You too.
President Robert Drake for the Huntsville Black Women,
There it is.
Greater Huntsville area. President Greg Lunn. Huntsville Black Men of Greater Huntsville. Greater Huntsville. And then the 100 Black women, y'all can all say, and give y'all recognition of members. The members. And then you also have members of the 100 Black Men of Greater Huntsville. They're around here somewhere. But now we're going to turn it over to the two best moderators. Oh, no. Oh, she is the president. I forget her name, so I've gone back to the experts. Okay. The president.
Alexis Tony.
See how beautiful that is? See that? You see how we compliment each other? We don't compete against each other around here. What we come together for is to show the legal votes. Oh, y'all remember saying, I already said the organization. Dr. Hardy is the president. She's not here yet. I don't know if she's coming or not. Kathy, is Kathy Johnson?
That's it.
Oh, Kathy. You're the same. Yeah, I'm gonna let her get seated. We have our County Commissioner, District 6, County Commissioner Violet Edwards. Yes. Anybody else that I missed before I turn it over to Cynthia Crawford? I know Miss Rachel. Oh, I'm sorry. Y'all come on, alumni. See, I don't mind being corrected because I'm subject to do something wrong. But I admit it. So right now we're going to have come to us to introduce our moderators is Cynthia Crawford.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our forum today. My name is Cynthia Crawford, and today our forum will be conducted by two outstanding moderators, Ms. Kristen Baker and Mr. Julian Boykin. Just to give you a little information about the two of them, Mrs. Baker is a native of Miami, Florida. She has actively engaged in many improvement and advancement efforts in the Madison County area since her transition to Huntsville in 2000. Kristen received her BS in criminal justice from Gulf University in 2009 and earned her MS in counseling psychology from Alabama A&M University in 2021. Kristen is involved in many civic organizations and community efforts that facilitate social action and promote the positive upbuilding of the Madison County community. She has received many recognitions of her community action as well. Mr. Julian Boykin is a professional who creates a deep flair for balance and fostering positive relations with the community. His higher education background has afforded him many opportunities in contract management, program management, business management, supervisory experience, and team building. Mr. Boykin was born and raised in Madison, Mississippi. He then went on to attend Jackson State University to earn a BS in business management. Julian is also the founder of Acquisition Consulting Experts, LLC, a small business committed to providing equality consulting and training services to the government and commercial community. Mr. Boykin is the chairman of Morgan County Airport Board and a current member of the 100 Black Men of Greater Huntsville, where he serves as Political Action Director and Director of Grants. At this time, I will turn the meet the candidate forum over to our moderators, Julian and Kristen. Take it away.
Good morning, how's everybody doing? So,
what we have today is another debate for the community to come in and listen to questions that are being asked by the moderators. And what we ask from you is, we listen to the questions and hear the answers that the candidates give. Are the candidates answering the questions, or are the candidates dancing around those questions? Take notes. Review your notes. And from those notes, compare with your core values and see which candidate is worthy of your vote. So the rules that we have for the audience: no side comments, things of that nature. So when candidates are answering questions, if you don't like the answer, don't say nothing like, oh, shit. Don't say that. This is your fair warning. If you say it, you will be asked to leave out of respect for the candidates and respect for the people who took time out of their day to come here. Oh, rules for the candidates. Have you guys been, in your real room? Any questions? Yes or no? Yes or no? That's a good question. Yes, you do. If you want to adhere to the rule, and no, you don't. If you want to win the election. The rebuttal. So once Mrs. Baxter asks a question, she will then ask you, hey, is there a rebuttal for that particular question? If both of you say no, and she starts with the next question, we will not go back to that question. So it's 30 seconds per rebuttal, so we are on a time crunch, so we want to be aware of the time and make sure that we ask enough questions and the right questions so both of you can answer. So intro is 90 seconds, your closing is 90 seconds, as well as a 30-minute intermission where you can interact with the audience.
Okay.
So if there's a question that didn't get asked, the audience can walk up to you and talk to you directly and ask that question. You go through that.
All right, welcome candidates. It's great to see you, Ms. Lewis. Great to see you, Mr. Meredith. As my co-moderator explained, we will have a 90-second intro for you all to speak about your platform. And so we will start with you first, Ms. Lewis. Again, glad you all are here and present for this opportunity. Ms. Lewis, you can start beginning.
Good morning, everyone. I am Kim Lewis. I was born and raised in this area. I call Huntsville home. I grew up in Triana, but moved to Huntsville eventually. A business owner here, a community activist here, someone that's been engaged in the community for a long time. I'm running for office because I want to continue to support this community. I want to make sure we're supporting our schools, we're supporting the infrastructure, we're supporting the things that matter to you at the kitchen table when you're at home worried about things at night. And the only way we can do that is to make sure we've got the right people in office, and those people are actually actively working for what you need and what you're trying to do. And I think I'm the person that can do that. I've been serving this community, like I said, for many years, from various organizations, from being involved on Prescott Medical Center's hospital board. I've been working with Calhoun Foundation, UAH's Foundation. I've sat on Huntsville Utilities Board. So I've been engaged in this community in various aspects. I was honored to have been able to be the first Black woman to actually chair the Chamber of Commerce here, which is doing a lot of economic development activities in this community. So I'm not sitting here as somebody that just getting in line to just do it for, just do it for one reason, but because I've been invested in this community for many years, and I want to continue to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Lewis. Mr. Meredith, now 90 seconds.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me okay? Thank you. And thank you all for taking time out of your day to be here. I'll be honest, I like what I hear. I may not be a lifelong resident of Huntsville, but I'm married to one. I have been in Huntsville for quite a while. I have been a business owner that represented some clients from Huntsville, although to be honest, most of my clients were elsewhere in the nation. I initially ran myself because I thought that the quality of life in my part of Huntsville, which if you count 5 homes to the left or south of my house, you're in trouble. So I understand that neighborhood and where you came from. So we share a lot in common. But I felt that my quality of life and what I was getting from my taxpayer dollar was not equal to what folks on the other side of the arsenal were getting for theirs. We didn't have a single rec center anywhere. We don't have ball fields. We didn't have a connected greenway system. And I have worked to make sure that all of those things are currently happening. And I have also been very responsive to citizen input. You look at the improvements at the intersection of Baltimore and Capshaw, came to me from people, from a town hall. You look at the lights on Trademark, you look at the left turn.
Okay,
lane,
that's your time, Mr. Meredith.
Thank you.
Each candidate will have 60 seconds per question. You will have one rebuttal per question, and as my co-moderator mentioned, it will be 30 seconds. So after that 30 seconds, we will move on to the next question for the sake of time. We're gonna begin again with you, Mrs. Lewis. Our first question is, what is your vision for District 5 and Huntsville as a whole?
One of the things I want to see in Huntsville, as some of you may know, District 5 is one of the largest districts within the city of Huntsville, but it's also the most disjointed district of the city of Huntsville. You've got parts that are in Madison County and parts in Huntsville, in Limestone County. You've got parts that are in rural areas, and you've got parts that are truly in the city area. So I want to see a concise plan to actually see how we're going to work together with the whole city to make sure that those things that are annexed in on the outskirts of Huntsville are truly part of the city of Huntsville, and putting those resources in place to make sure that those things are actually happening. Because right now, I don't see a concise plan of what needs to take place and how we can truly improve the citizens' life by making sure that we have the resources like fire departments, like police precincts, those things that need to be in those areas. Because like I was saying, one other thing I was at, you know, the closest fire department to me is miles away. So my fire insurance is costs me even more just because those resources aren't in that area of town. So it's just something that needs to take place, and that concise plan needs to be put in place so we can make sure that we're doing that.
Thank you, Mrs. Lewis. Mr. Meredith, same question. Would you like to go?
Go ahead.
Okay. What is your vision for District 5 and Huntsville as a whole?
I will answer that, but I need to address a couple of things that Ms. Lewis said. She talked about fire coverage. I noticed that when I was on the campaign trail, and that is why in less than a month, there will be a new fire station opening on Bird Green that is going to address for a lot of citizens that being outside of that 5-mile range. It will mean money in their pockets. It will mean better emergency medical services. And frankly, it'll mean cleaning up wrecks a whole lot sooner. The biggest thing I guess I have time left to talk about in my vision is a change in the way we develop subdivisions out west. Right now, subdivisions tend to be one zone, all the homes basically are the same. We have already started changing that out west where there are multiple housing stocks within it. There are areas that are paid for and whatnot by the developers that will be open for use.
That's your time.
Within.
Thank you, Mr. Meredith. Mrs. Lewis, you have a rebuttal if you choose. Mr. Meredith.
If I can take the time to finish what I was saying. Okay. And yes, I try to hear from my constituents and empower them. The Balch-Capitol Road intersection came out of someone's desire. Over in Providence, we've met several times to find a second interest on the west. We have finally done that. So the people, my constituents, know that when their voices will not only be heard, but I'll do everything I can to make it happen. And if I get initial pushback from administration or county or anywhere else, I don't stop until I can get it.
Thank you both. Next question will address public safety. And Mr. Meredith, we'll begin with you. How do you plan to enhance public safety and emergency services in the district? What are your thoughts on community policing and police community relations?
Public safety is very important to me, and I have addressed public safety over the last 4 years. I have fixed tornado sirens in Providence. I have put new ones up out in, both Limestone County and southern, Madison County. I have put a boatload of, street lights, up on out western streets, which are often old county roads that are annexed. They don't have shoulders, they're not lit. So we put up street lights there. I have been working with Huntsville Police to stand up a fourth precinct for the west. The holdup there is manpower to do it. Again, I had talked about the Huntsville Fire and Rescue. We have that coming online. So I've been working with the chief for that, and we're already looking at a location for a new fire station in another part of the west.
Thank you, Mrs. Lewis. And public safety is something that we definitely need to work on within that district. As I was saying, that district has wide variety of needs and things that needs to happen. We were talking about Limestone County. The things that he's mentioning are mostly within Madison County. That doesn't address half of things within Limestone County. And you talk about over half of the districts in that area. So there's a whole section of the district that's not being taken care of, that those resources aren't in place. And it's going to be a while before they get there because there is not a concise plan in place to make sure those things are being addressed. Or if they're truly trying to make sure that those things are happening throughout the whole district and not just in certain parts of the district. Thank you. Any rebuttal?
Yes, the folks that live in Limestone County know that I have been their advocate for years. They know that a lot of this stuff that I just talked about is in Limestone County. That fire station is in Limestone County. When we talk about services, particularly when it comes to broadband, water, and utilities, they're all different providers in Limestone County. I have connections and have already worked to solve constituent issues related to that infrastructure.
Yes, I agree that fire station is going in Limestone County, but it's just right aside of county line. We're talking about now the district goes all the way over to 65. That's the last one that's there. You've got a whole lot of this to the district that's had to take place. That's on the north side of the district. You've got the whole south side of Limestone County that's not being addressed.
Thank you. That leads us into, that's a perfect segue into community engagement. So I will ask again, I will ask you, Ms. Lewis, Mrs. Lewis first. How do you plan to stay engaged with the constituents of District 5? Keeping in mind the entirety of the district, the entire district. How do you plan to stay engaged with the constituents? What strategies will you use to ensure diverse community voices are heard?
This is something I've been doing. I've been engaged in the community. I currently right now sit on the Limestone County Board of Chamber of Commerce because I'm already engaged within Limestone County. So I want to continue that and to learn what the things that are happening in Limestone County. I've got great relationships with a lot of the leadership that is in that area. And I want to make sure that the constituents of that area know that I'll be there to represent them. It's a matter of actually going into the communities, having meetings within the communities, going to the churches in those communities to make sure that you can hear the constituents' voices and understand what they need. You got to stay engaged. That's the only way you're going to be sure to know what's going on, because what I think may be a concern to some of the constituents aren't what's concerned. I know we're out knocking on doors. That's where we're hearing a lot of these problems. And the only way we can address them is actually talk to the individuals and make sure that we're communicating with them.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, same question.
Could you restate the question?
Absolutely. How do you plan to stay engaged with the constituents of District 5 and the totality of District 5? What strategies would you use to ensure diverse community voices are heard?
Right now, I'm the only city council person that provides a gender-specific preview to our meetings. On Wednesdays, I do a push email that has everything that is on the council agenda on that Thursday meeting so that my constituents know what is specific to them on it. I am the only city council person that has 2 official Facebook pages. I also have a lot of folks on my personal page. I am the only one that does district forums. I am one of the few that do monthly town halls. My town hall meetings travel. That's how I know that the folks at Balch and Capshaw wanted that intersection done. That's how I know the folks down there by the reserve and by Zerk Road wanted that rec center. That's how I know that the folks over there in Lydia Drive wanted, Lydia Drive to be, for us to start the process for making it on the National Registry of Historic, Civil Rights, sites.
I'm gonna move on to another question that is linked and or connected to the question just asked. There's an article claiming that the Huntsville City Council has closed council meetings from public discussions. Do the candidates have any comment or opinion on this rule? Let's start with you, Ms. Merritt.
I absolutely have an opinion about it, and I've shared that opinion on several occasions to several different media outlets. I don't like it. I think it is totally non-transparent. I think that the process for doing it was not, we'll use the word democratic. And I think that the citizens of the city of Huntsville are shortchanged by the fact that they have done what they have done. Now, all that said, the reality is that there is one person that has the authority over doing that, and that one person has made their decision. There is nothing that anyone other than that one person who made the decision can do to change.
Lewis, and the only thing that I would add to that is that we, as the citizens, need to make sure that we get our voices heard. We need to make sure that those voices are heard throughout the whole community. So we need to contact that individual that he was mentioning and let him know that as constituents, we don't appreciate that because this is our opportunity to voice ourselves and be heard at the city council meeting. So to be able not to have those comments dispersed equally amongst everybody, I think is going to cause a problem eventually because it's not creating transparency as it should.
Okay, I want to take a question, I'm going to take a question from the audience, and this question is from one of your community members in District 5, one of your constituents. With the high levels of residential and commercial construction in District 5, there has been a marked increase in construction and debris on the roads. The debris has remained often for 6 weeks at a time and causes major damage to vehicles and roads. It does not appear there are any efforts to hold construction companies accountable for their debris generation or any efforts to clear the roads of debris with street sweepers or other mechanisms. What are your plans to address this issue and keep our roads clean and safe?
Ms. Lewis. I think it's one of the things we putting the contracts in place with those individuals. We need to make sure there's stipulations that are in some of those contracts to say that you will do those type of things. You will make sure that debris is cleaned up, that you will make sure that stuff is removed from the sites when they're not being used, just so stuff doesn't build up. I'm not sure if those things are in place now in some of those contracts. The other thing we need to do is when those things are happening, report it to the city. Sometimes those things may not be known, and if it's not reported, there's no way for them to be known. But if it is reported, I'm sure that the city would do a good job of trying to get out and get it taken care of. But it's just a matter of making sure those are communicated. So if you make sure, and then you can actually hold the builders, responsible for what they're not doing, and everything does not always fall back on the city to get taken care of because they're the ones who's actually leaving that debris and that trash there in those areas. We just need to make sure that that is part of the contracts.
Thank you, Mr. Meredith.
On the occasions when it's been brought to my attention, I have had it rectified. Frankly, I think the word's getting around because a few weeks ago I was driving down Zurt Road and there is a construction going on over by the Williams School, and they actually, to my dismay, we're actually holding up traffic so that the street sweeper could get out there and clear that road. So their developers are getting better, and we're holding their feet to the fire. If you are a constituent in District 5 and you see this happening, please reach out to me and I'll make sure that it's done post haste.
How would you prefer your constituents in District 5 to reach out to you in regards to the group?
You can reach out to me personally either at John with an H Meredith, John.Meredith at huntsvilleal.gov, or you can call 256-427-5011 and just leave me a message and I will not only acknowledge it, but through either returning that email or that phone call, but then, as I mentioned, talk to the people that can rectify that. The other method that you can do is a see-click fix, and just take a picture of it. You see-click fix, it will generate something, a ticket that has to be acknowledged. your C-Fix submission will be acknowledged by the city, and you will be updated as to the status of that issue.
Thank you. I'm gonna move on to housing and development. We are seeing massive growth and development in Huntsville. What is your stance on affordable housing in Huntsville, and how do you plan to address it? How do you plan to address it? How will you balance new development with preserving the character of existing neighborhoods? And, so it's
Said Mr. Lewis, but you look at me, I was only meaning this here. Make sure.
well, sometimes. Mr. Mayor, please.
Yes, ma'am. That's a great question, and it is frankly the question of our time here in Huntsville as rents are starting to go through the roof, particularly if you are an elder person, or frankly, anyone on a fixed income. Makes it very hard. Out west, I mentioned a little earlier about working with developers to change the model by which we are building out there. That is going to afford us various housing stock, of which some of that housing stock by definition will be affordable. Affordable. The definition of affordable depends on one's own income. But what I'm trying to say is we will have a wide variety of costs for housing products, be they single family, be they duplexes, be they apartments, and that sort of thing. We will also have carved out zoning that allows for, yes.
What I'm thinking about affordable housing, I know in some of the areas, some of my friends that actually know that live in Montgomery and in Birmingham actually have put in things in place to actually, when they're building those houses, they actually hold the builders accountable and actually require them to put at least 10% of those houses within that new development to be affordable housing. That's something that they can do that doesn't actually cost them as much, and they're still being able to make the profit. So that's something that council could try to implement with some of the builders that are coming in, is actually put that in the actual contract, say that 10% or 5% or any particular portion of that, I can talk now, is actually affordable housing. And if they do that, they'll actually spread the housing across the whole city and not congregate it into one area. So there's little small things we can start doing to make a bigger impact overall for the city.
Is it possible to ask for a rebuttal?
You most definitely can have a rebuttal of 30 seconds.
I think ADUs is maybe not the first step, but it is a vital step to addressing affordable housing in the city. I know that it is something that is predominantly more effective in other parts of the city rather than the West. We tend to build our homes with the apartment over the garage in the first place. 5 Points and others are the ones that I think ADUs makes a lot of sense. But that is a technique that can get us to affordable housing.
I want to, since we are on housing in District 5, I do want to bring up the members of the community or the homeless component of District 5. We do have the Downtown Rescue Mission right around the street here in District 5. That is a great resource for individuals seeking or needing residents. However, the Downtown Rescue Mission releases of the bulk of the individuals during the day, causing a lot of the homeless community to commute or solicit certain small businesses. This is affecting and has affected the District 5 since the move of the Downtown Rescue Mission to its current location. I want to know how you, as council members for District 5, will address the homeless community within District 5 to include the Downtown Rescue Mission. And Mrs. Lewis, excuse me, will be doing you.
I think that that's something that's a huge issue, not just in District 5, but throughout the whole city. It's something that's got to be addressed. Right now, I know if more funding could actually go to those organizations, they could find more resources to actually try to help those individuals that are actually homeless, try to find something more permanent, help them get training for jobs, help them figure out ways to find some other type of employment. So we've got to figure out not just to try to solve the problem of homelessness, but figure out what the problem, why they're homeless in the first place and address those problems. Because I think once we can address those things, it will help us figure out how to solve the homeless problem. Because it's not something that, I don't think anybody that's homeless truly wants to be homeless. We've got to figure out why they're homeless and figure out ways to get them employed, figure out ways to get them better housing, figure out ways to help support them so you can get them out of that situation in the first place.
Thank you, Mr. Meredith.
I concur. I have, through both citywide appropriations as well as district improvement funds, I have supported the homeless, community through the organizations that represent them. First Stop, Downtown Rescue Mission. In fact, I've given Downtown Rescue Mission as well as the North Alabama Coalition about homelessness matched $10,000 apiece so that they could continue their mission here in District 5. First off, I have worked with them for years, authorized the expansion of their center downtown and their services. So homelessness is something that is here. Frankly, I don't, homelessness is something that will ever be solved. I think there are so many different issues going on within that community that you just aren't going to get addressed. And if someone is hooked on meth and doesn't want to follow the rules, then you can't put them in Downtown Rescue Mission. Sorry. It's so for a politician not to keep going.
I'm going to move over to infrastructure and take a couple of questions from the audience. The first one, with the new Huntsville transit station opening soon, it seems like the city is investing more in the Orbit bus system. However, getting to bus stops often requires walking near busy roads with no crosswalks and fragmented or no sidewalks. What are your plans to increase pedestrian accessibility and safely to make the Orbit system easier to use? And we will begin with you, Mr. Meredith.
Thank you. When it comes to the infrastructure, you're talking focused a lot about transit. Now I'll stick to transit. I'm working with a colleague now, and have been for a while. It's just not since we decided to run for the election. But we're working to do what we can to get sunshades over public bus stops, particularly the heaviest ridden lines and heaviest utilized stops. So we are trying to address the safety issue there. We're also working with Ms. Bryant to identify stops that need coverage, period, not just a bench, but let's put some sort of structure over it to shelter people from the weather when we can. Now, when you talk about sidewalks leading up to that, that's kind of a different issue. But sidewalks are something that we always put in our wish list for. The administration starts.
Mrs. Lewis.
Yeah, the Orbit bus system, if you're talking strictly about District 5, it's in certain parts of District 5, but of course it does not carry out through the entire district. So for the bus system to truly be effective for the entire district, it needs to be included within the entire district. And right now it's only in a certain portion of the district. I don't think it goes pretty much past anything that's over there near the Walmart and things that are on University Boulevard. So if we're going to have a public system, we need to make sure that public system expands within the whole district of entire Huntsville, because when you're talking about people that are working out at Monster Toyota that's in the city of Huntsville, there's no way for those people to get to work on a public system. So if we're going to have a complete system, we need to make sure it goes throughout the district. And to address the things to make it safety, the city's going to have to make some investments to make sure that we've got those bus stops at a point where they can be safe for individuals. Not just putting a cover over them, but just have them accessible to anybody that's out there.
Yeah, Roberta.
Yes. The westernmost stop at this point is Bridge Street. You can catch public transportation to Bridge Street. However, the line that currently services that is about to be changed and will no longer serve it, but it will pop up on another line. Ms. Lewis mentioned a wonderful thing. There is not public transportation in 99% of District 5. District 5 will get a new route. Scheduled to happen next year will be Route 100. It will go down Walter Ave.
That's different. But we did hear a new route is on the way. But moving forward, Huntsville Connect is a wonderful way for constituents to report problems. But if there is a pothole or hazardous pedestrian situation where a crosswalk is needed on a state highway, the constituent is asked to contact the state highway, Department of Transportation. Would you support that? Would you support having Huntsville report safety issues on state roads in your district? Okay. How would you support having Huntsville report safety issues on state roads in your district? There we are. And Mrs. Lewis will begin.
Yes, I think that as a constituent, you're not going to know if a road is a state road, if it's a city road, or how it needs to work. So it needs to be one central location. So contacting your city council person should be enough to at least get the conversation started. And you can make that initial request out to the state, because the individual's not going to know whether to call the state or the city. So it's just got to be easy for us to communicate and to get that information to individuals. And the only way you can do that is to truly be a representative that actually can try to take on those responsibilities and talk to your constituents and then help them figure out what's the best route to get those issues solved.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett.
I'm still a little confused on the question, to be honest. Don't reread it. A state road is a state road. We have no jurisdiction over it whatsoever. That was a hard lesson for me to have to learn. But it was a lesson learned and it opened the door. That door it opened was collaboration with state legislators who the DOT will listen to because they control their budgets. So I've been able to address some of those issues that constituents have related to state roads, which includes University Drive, which is where most folks have the road. So we've been able to address some, not all, but about 50% of those constituent concerns in relationships with state legislators who have carried our water in Montgomery to get those things addressed.
So just to follow up on the question being asked, how would you support having Huntsville constituents report safety issues on those roads in your state?
Frankly, I would have, I'm sorry, am I getting no. Frankly, I would have them continue to call me. That's my job. I'll sort out whose road it is and I'll make that pitch to them. I might have to reach back and say, is it okay for me to use your name or something like that? But just call me and I'll sort it out.
Right, thank you. We are going to move on to education and youth. So how will you support local schools and educational initiatives in District 5? What programs would you propose to support youth in recreational activities? Mr. Merrick.
Yes, I'll start by saying there's a bright line of demarcation between Huntsville City Schools and the City Council. They don't want us in their business. We don't want them in ours, and the state tells us that by law. So I have been an advocate for schools since well before ever running initially for City Council, because schools are terrible out west. I shouldn't say terrible, they're not existing. We have the problem is we have three. We have 3 schools to support the largest district in the city of 80 square miles, and that's insufficient. We have kids riding buses up to an hour each way, going to school and then returning home. That's unacceptable. We have had to have schools. I worked with the board and the superintendent to try to find financial resources for them. We identified a farmer that donated land for the school. They have it in their capital plan now. And we will have a school out west. And
Mrs. Lewis, we all know that most people, when they move to an area, when they're trying to support an area, it's because they move to a certain area because of the schools. If we don't have good quality schools within our district, we're gonna have where people don't want to live within that district, or they're gonna try to attend a private school. So we've got to make sure we're supporting education, we're supporting the needs of those individual schools. My daughter, when she was at Providence Elementary, you've got an elementary school that has over 900 kids. They got portables out there. You can't have a good school that way. When she was over at Williams Elementary, we were driving almost, 25, 35 minutes just to get to school every morning because of the way the schools are and where they are in the district. So we've got to get the new school out there. And I'm glad that the city, school board actually put it into place to put that in the capital plan, but that school is at least another 3 or 4 years out. So that's still not going to address the issues right now. So we just got to figure out ways that we can get more support to the schools. And as a city council person, you've got to be able to help advocate some of those funds to be able to secure land and to do that, not just for one school, but for several schools that needs to happen out there. And we just need to be advocates to that, to the school board. Okay. She's keeping us on track. Thank you, Mrs. Lewis. So we keep hearing the topic of funding come up, and before I take these last two questions from the audience, we keep hearing the topic of funding and budget. So perfect segue to address, how will you ensure the city's budget is managed responsibly? What areas do you believe need more funding, and where do you think cuts need to be made? And I'm going to begin with you, Mrs. Lewis.
Well, we all kind of know that it's the mayor's budget, and then he kind of puts some of the things in place. So it's going to be one of those things where you got to go advocate for certain things that you want to try to happen within the district, and try to have some influence on some of those things that are happening, and not vote on certain things that are actually just spending money, just in spending money. I mean, one of the things that I think is an issue is this new, Sky Bridge. They're talking about building downtown when there's other resources and things that need to take place throughout other parts of the city. So there's certain things that we can be collectively advocates on to say, this is stuff that money doesn't need to be spent and resources need to be spent in other areas. So we just got to make sure you're being an advocate for that. Thank you, Mr. Meredith.
I would certainly support that and agree with that. This city, honestly, we do a very good job of not only managing, but being very responsible with the city's money. We do have things pop up from time to time, like that is currently going on with the Parks and Rec department, the case of embezzlement. But the reason we know about it, that things work. That person was found out, that person was caught, that person will face the wrath of the justice system for what they have done. Outside of that, I don't know how you go about being more fiscally responsible. Ms. Lewis mentioned the Sky Bridge. To a large extent, I totally concur with that. But that was something that is hinged to another project, and that is the Pembroke Creek sort of mitigation issues, and that's why that is support.
Thank you. Questions from the audience? I will combine these two because Mr. Meredith, when we were speaking of affordable housing, you made the statement that affordable housing can be looked at in certain different ways and can be addressed in, I guess, on a spectrum, if you would. So with that being said, if you would please define affordable housing. Housing growth also depends on one's own income. So what is the relationship between job growth and affordable housing as it relates to District 5? So 2 questions there. Affordable housing defined, and job growth and affordable housing as within District 5.
Any definition that I give affordable housing is my definition of affordable housing. There isn't really an official definition for it. Statistically speaking, you're not supposed to spend more than 30% of your disposable income on housing. Growing up in theory, that's what affordable meant, but we blow past that now on a regular basis. So that's why no one can really define it, because our historic measurements for it are all behind us at this point. There are a lot of different ways to look at it. Land banks to be utilized. Land banks work better in other parts of the city because frankly, in the west, we have these large 100-acre tracts, or if not more of land. Land banks don't finance that. Land banks will finance infill projects. Those infill projects will be subsidized. Therefore, it can be turned over as affordable housing, meaning the low market value for the apartment sale. If we
Thank you.
Mrs. Short. Yeah, it's affordable housing, like you said, it defines several different ways, but the biggest thing is making sure that individuals can actually find affordable housing near where they live and work, mostly where they work, when you're talking about the jobs, because most of the time you're trying to figure out ways to get to where you're employed. So you gotta, they can back out towards the Monster Toyota when you've got $2,000 and $3,000 apartments out there that's near a manufacturing facility. It just doesn't make sense because the people that actually work in that facility cannot afford to live in those houses. So you've got to make affordable housing available to people that are actually in certain areas. I was talking to one of the owners of a restaurant downtown. She was letting me know that she couldn't actually get workers to come there, but because we don't have a very good public transportation in some of those areas, some of the people that actually could afford to work or actually could work down there can't afford to live downtown, nor can they afford to actually transport downtown. So we just got to look at it concisely in a plan to figure out ways to help address the bigger issue and not just try to address it in conflicts.
Thank you, Ms. Blue. This is going to bring me into the second part of that question, which was job growth, right? So I have a question from the audience. What ideas or plans do you have to increase business and improve the infrastructure of North Huntsville? Seems like all businesses are moving west, Madison, Limestone, further up Highway 72. Mr. Meredith.
Well, this is going to go over like a bed of bricks. In North Huntsville, if you're talking specifically about North Huntsville, I don't really know how to answer that question. Because what the focus that I've been having at this point is on the future, 20, 30 years out. Ms. Lewis mentioned the plan out west. That's the plan out west. That's where the growth and the annexation and the future, if you will, of growth in our district is going to be. It's going to be there. It's not going to be in the swath between Woody Anderson Ford and UAH and Oakwood. That it's just not there.
Ms. Lewis, one of the things is we just got to figure out ways to encourage builders, encourage developers, encourage people that actually looking for a place to develop in Huntsville to look at all of Huntsville, not just in certain parts of Huntsville. And that's one way we can do that. As an individual, we don't have control over where most builders decide they want to go. They're going to do their studies, they're going to do that. But you can at least show them certain areas. You can at least try to encourage them to look at those areas and not just always send them to one part of town or another part of town, but say, hey, here's another area. And if you make this investment here, maybe the city can actually give you some incentives. I know they give incentives for other projects. So maybe there's ways you can say, okay, if you decide to build here, the city will help support it in some way. So you just got to be a little bit more creative in how you're looking at stuff to figure out ways to make it happen instead of saying that only things can go to one area or another part of town. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I get harsh language-wise sometimes. Met with developers that have wanted to put things in over by re-up. And, you know, we've been in those meetings with the planning department and the urban renewal people, and the feasibility, the marketability, the commercial value just isn't there. But now for those smaller projects where it does make sense, the city will absolutely support it. But frankly, you're not going to get a Shane Davis laying out an incentive package for such a small.
That's right. And what we are going to do now, we'll have time for one more question. Audience members, if I did not ask your questions, the candidates will have 30 minutes. You will have 30 minutes with the candidates after. So if I did not ask your question. Well, you will have some time with the candidates. Excuse me. Yes, after which. So one more question, and then you all will have your 90-second closing statement, okay? And so the last question is, again, why should the constituents of District 5 vote for you? And I'm gonna start with you, Mrs. Lewis.
I'm gonna ask for your vote because in fact, I have been working for this city, not just because I was in a public office, not because I felt like that was what I wanted to do, but I was born and raised here. I'm committed to doing here. I want to see the city grow, and I want to make sure that we're all vested in it and doing what we can. When this is home and your family's here and everybody's here supporting you, you want to make sure it's a better life, not just for you individually, but your community that you grew up in. So that's one of the reasons why I'm wanting. I want you to also support me because I am vested in making sure that you're taken care of. The individuals, the constituents are making sure that your day-to-day lives are better because of the fact that you live within the city of Huntsville.
Question is Mary.
I asked for your vote because we have 4 years behind us, and in those 4 years, I believe we have brought more quality of life improvement things to the district than we have in the last 20. Almost everything is new. The relationships that I have established with my constituents, I think is irreplaceable. I think that those folks, know the value of what they have right now. They know that this is the only political office I have ever saw. It is the only political office I see myself seeking. I have been trained in the legislative process by the best in America when I was up there running stuff through Congress. I learned how to navigate that legislative process, build collaborations, and I have taken that collaborative effort on projects that have been completed here in the last 2 years. Thank you all very much.
So we thank you for answering all of these questions. Right now, each candidate will have 90 seconds to close. That was your closing? That was the last question. Why should they vote for you? But if you don't have anything else to add, then we'll leave that there.
There wasn't close.
Okay. We will use that as closing. So thank you all again for coming and joining and being part of this debate.
Well, I just thank you guys for putting it on and giving us the opportunity to interact and be a chance to let you guys learn more about us. And if there's any opportunities, we can come out and talk to you, one of your organizations individually. If there's other opportunities to go with other parts of the community, please reach out to us. We're here to support.
Now we're gonna have closing remarks.
They were done, that's what I think. They're done.
To the constituents, thank y'all for coming out. This is a collaborative effort by all of our organizations to ensure that you understand and meet these candidates and have a clear idea how they may represent you. The 100 Black Men of Greater Huntsville, we are an organization that mentor young men, young boys to become men. And part of that, our pillars is education. And in that education is public awareness. This year, a voting year, very important that you understand who the candidates are locally as well as nationally. And with that, we want to educate you as part of our community outreach. So we thank you. I thank you for coming out today, and I hope that this has enlightened you as far as your District 5 candidates are concerned.
Thank you. So I would like for the committee to actually stand. We put this together today. Please give it a round of applause. Thank you. This is our second event, and each time we just continue to see improvement. It takes a lot of work to actually put this on, so we are forever grateful for you all. You all have a hard decision to make here, guys. You have some wonderful candidates, people who work in the community. We appreciate everything that's been done here. And I look forward to seeing what either one of you all have to bring. As we've seen, Councilman Meredith here, and Kim is actually a member of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, so she's not inducted yet, but she'll be inducted soon, guys. But either way, they're both really great candidates. A lot of work has been put in, and that's one of the things I most appreciate here, especially our members and other members coming and the community to hear what everyone has to say and just to see everyone gather, right? It takes a lot of work. The Tennessee Valley of Women Voters, did I say it correctly? League of Women Voters, excuse me, Tennessee Valley. Thank you for always helping the National Coalition of 100 Black Women when it comes to voters registration, when it comes to giving back to the community, as well as the NAACP. I'm glad that we had an opportunity to work with you all, as well as Delta's alumni chapter, and we always work with the 100 Black men of the Greater Huntsville area too.
I just want to echo what everyone else has said. This is your vote. We want you to exercise it. We want you to research. You know, at Huntsville Alumni Chapter, one of the things that we're founded on is social action. So we want you all to just take all the information, research it, I'm glad that you all came out to share with the community. I'm glad that you all are out, because you could have been anywhere else today, but you chose to be here. And we thank you for your time. And we have two more events later this month and then in August as well. So our flyer, I think is here. So please come out and share with us and find out what's going on in your community. This is your vote. This is your voice. Please exercise it. And we also have an evaluation. We would like you to evaluate this event prior to leaving. So we have a QR code that we would like you all to scan and evaluate this event. Thank you.
I'd also like to thank everybody for coming out today. I know it's hot. And this is a matter of information. Voter cutoff for this coming election on August 27th is August 13th. I'm sorry. The voter registration cutoff is August 13th for this election, and the election's on August 27th. And we have a lot of information on our desk up there. We have the schedule of these candidates' debates, the list of candidates, the map, where you can see District 1 and 5. And if you want to check your voter registration, because a lot of people don't know what district they live in. You ask them, they'll give you the polling location, but the district's different. And again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming up here and participating in this.
Leave it look great. All right. Now, we thank you all. We'll see you in 2 weeks. We'll be at Blackwood Chapel, Cumberland Presbyterian Church on Plummer Road, and it will be for school board district number 1. There's 4 candidates.
Okay.
So it's July 27th? July the 27th. And it'll be at 11 o'clock. From 11 to 12:30. Blackwood Chapel, Cumberland Presbyterian Church. And expect a lot of information. They have 4 candidates running for that one position. So there's a lot of interest in it. We thank you all for coming. We hope you support all these groups. I would like to reiterate one more time. We do not endorse anyone. We endorse policy. We do not endorse candidates. And that goes for every organization that's on this representative, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I follow my assignment. We say that we do not endorse any candidate. Got that? We do not endorse any candidate. There's time. We do not endorse any candidate. So in case you didn't hear. All right, blessed be you guys. Y'all got 30 minutes to mingle with these beautiful people. Ask them something that you didn't want to ask in public. And just record it so the rest of us can hear what they say. All right, y'all be blessed.
Go, yeah, hit, end live stream. I was going to.
No.
Yeah, no,